Hi guys, welcome to another Divi themed video. This is Jamie from System 22 and webdesignertechtips.com. We got another great one for you today. In yesterday's video, we showed you how to animate titles, get a little animation effect going, get them really noticed. Today we've got this nice underline effect. As you can see, it's automatic. It's going to come out. It's going to underline our titles there, which is going to get people's eyeballs on it. It's going to reduce back down and disappear again. And then after a few seconds, it's going to come back in again. Really eye-catching effect. Of course, this will work on tablet and mobile too if I hit my F12 key. Here we have it on an iPhone 12. It's going to come in. It's going to go the length of our text there. It's going to stay there for a little while. And it's going to reduce back just like the other one. Let's take a look on an iPad. Here we are on the iPad Air, doing exactly the same thing. Fantastic. And of course you can use these on other modules. We've got a dark version going on with this one below here, doing exactly the same thing with the underline there. And you can add it to modules too. We've got the white one working on these two modules here. You'll see it's going to disappear back down in a moment. And again, these are fantastic things for getting people's eyeballs on what you want them to be looking at. Really easy to do. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and undo what I've got going on here, and we'll start from scratch. Okay, I've got my builder enabled here, and I've undone everything that we had going. We're going to work on this heading module I've got going on right here. Firstly, let's get rid of it, and we'll start from scratch. I'm going to add a new little module underneath. I'm going to use a heading module for this, like I showed you earlier. You can use any module you want. Put an underline on the bottom of it if you want to. I'm going to put in that same text as I had going on there. It's very dark, but it's actually there. If we hit the little pencil, take us straight to the editor for that text. I'm going to make it an H2. I don't want it as my main page title. I'm going to use a blocky font called Anton that I've been using. To audition a font, just roll over. It'll give you an example. Here's my Anton in my recents up here. Of course, I want to make it light in color so we can see it. I'm going to make it perhaps 40 pixels. I think that's what I had before. Obviously adjust to taste. And I want it to be in the middle. But of course, I also want it to be up at the top here. So let's just save this. We'll roll this up to the top. Now what I'm going to do is I'll just throw in a little code module here. And I'll write the code on the page so we can see what's going on in real time. Then I'll move it over the customizer so you can use this effect on any text or any module on your site. I'll show you how to do that in a little while. So let's just add a new little module. I'm going to add a new row underneath here for the time being. I'm going to put a single column in it. I'm going to use a code module. As we're using a code module here, we've got to tell it we're using CSS. So I'm going to open and close some style tags. Left pointy bracket, the word style, S-T-Y-L-E. Right pointy bracket. When you put that one in, it puts in the closing tag. Anything that we write in between will be seen as CSS code, which is what we want. Now, the first thing we need to do is come up with a class name, anything that you want. All class names have a dot or a period in front of them when you write them. So there's the dot. Let's call this one perhaps M line, moving line. Well, I'm going to have a light and a dark version of it. We'll call this one white, W-T. Call yours what you want, but it doesn't want to be a unique name. Now we're going to use a pseudo element to create this underline effect under our little heading here. So to do that, we need to put in a colon and another colon, then the word after, A-F-T-E-R. And that gives us a bit of space to add something after the main part of our element here, which is custom websites for your success. Now just so you can see what's going on, let's open and close some curly brackets quickly. I'm going to say that. I'm going to go in and let's actually assign it the class name that we've given it, which is mline.wt. Over in advanced, you'll find CSS IDs and classes. Make sure you put it in the class name, not the ID. And it's mline.wt for white. Great. Now it's got that class name. As we write this code, you should see things happen underneath. Let's go back into our code module, which is down here. Okay, the first thing I want to do is tell it I want some content in there. because we're going to create this line from scratch. So I'm going to say content, C-O-N-T-E-N-T, colon, and I'm just going to put a couple of inverted commas there, just so it knows something's going to be put in there. We'll put a semicolon on the end there. Always put a semicolon on the end of each line of text. If you don't, it won't read the next one. I'm going to position it. Position. It wants to be absolute. So it stays where we put it within the element that it's on. That's great. And I'll create it in a minute so you can actually see something up there. I want it to be right on the bottom. So I'm going to say bottom, colon, 0. I want it to be halfway across, basically in the middle, because that's where I want it to start from. So let's say left 50%. That's only going to bring its left corner to the middle there. We want it to be totally in the middle. We've got to use a bit of transform translate by negative 50% to pull it back. This will become apparent when you actually see this thing. So I'm going to use transform, translate, T-R-A-N-S-L-A-T-E. You just move basically. Right at the end we put some round brackets with no gaps. It's important you don't put any gap after translate there. And I want to put it back by half of its width and height, which will put it dead in the middle there. So I'm going to say negative 50 and a percent sign. And I know you can't see anything, it's coming up. So if we give it a color, a height, and a width, we should be able to see it. So let's say I want it a width of perhaps 100%, 100 and the percent sign, which will be as large as the element that it's in, which is our custom website block there, little heading block. I'm going to give it a height of perhaps 3 pixels, colon, 3 pixels. And now we should be able to see it. If we give it a background color now, let's give it a background dash color, colon, I want to make this one white, which in CSS3 is hashtag SFF. There it is. You can see it's popped up underneath there. Fantastic. But we want this to animate, and we really only want it to animate the size of our actual words there. We don't want it spelling out here unless you particularly do, but that's entirely up to you. So let's create our animation. I'm going to drop down one more. I'm going to tell it I want it to animate, N-I-M-A-T-I-O-N. We need to give that animation a name. I'm going to call it grow underline, maybe, G-R-O-W, and a capital U, growing underline. Again, call use what you want, but it wants to be unique. I'm going to have mine running for 15 seconds, 15S. And I want it to keep going and going. So we're going to use infinite again, I-N-F-I-N-I-T-E. Fantastic. But we really haven't told it what we want to do. We haven't created this animation yet. So let's drop down from our little curly bracket there. And we'll use keyframes to build this just like we did yesterday. I'm going to say at keyframes, K-E-Y-F-R-A-M-E-S. And the name that we gave it, which was grow U, G-R-O-W underline. Now let's open and close some curly brackets. We can tell it what we want to do with our 15 seconds we got up here. Well, when the page loads initially, I don't want to see it at all. So let's say 0%, beginning when the page loads fully there. We'll open and close some more curly brackets. I'm going to give it a width of 0. W-I-D-T-H of 0. What I can do up here, I can take that width down to 0 that we put 100% in. I just put it there so you can see. So let's make that width 0 also. With 0 values, you don't need a percentage or a pixel value. It knows that 0 is nothing. So it's going to start off invisible like this. Then when we get to about halfway, I want it to be fully visible. So I'm going to copy this line, Control C. I'm going to drop down, paste it underneath. I'm going to turn this into 50, 50. I'm going to make this width 100%, 100 and the percent sign. And you'll see it start growing and shrinking there. But to make it stop, I mean, it's going all the way there. And as soon as it gets to the end, it's going to start shrinking back down. I want it to delay a bit before it starts. So we've got invisible, invisible, invisible. Then it's going to come in. And I want it to stop a bit when it gets full width right there. So to do that, let's just tidy this up. I'm going to comma separate some values. I'm going to say at 0%, I'm going to put a comma in there. I'm going to say, and also till it gets to 25%, I want it to have a width of 0. So until about the 3 or 3.5 second mark or so, 25% of our 15 seconds there, it's not going to do anything. It's going to be invisible. Then from 50 to perhaps 75%, I want it to stay fully visible. So again, I'm going to comma separate, comma. I'm going to put 75% in there. And obviously adjust these how they work for you. Now it's going to stay invisible. When it gets to its full length like that, it's going to stay there for a few seconds. Then it's going to shrink back down. And it's back to our width 0 for 25%. Stay disappeared. That's what I want. Obviously, if you want it to take more time to do it, make this bigger value. If you want to do it quicker, make that a smaller value. And adjust these however you want them. When you don't want to see it, we're using these two. When you do want to see it, we're using 50 and 75%. Great. Now, there's only one little problem with that, and that it's going all the way over here. I really only want it to underline our word. So let's just save our code settings here. Really easy fix. I'm going to go into the actual heading module. Just so you can see exactly what I'm doing, I'm going to give it a colored background. As you can see, our module's this wide. I'm going to shrink it down so it's just as big as our words are right there. To do that, we can go Design, Sizing. Here's our width. I'm going to pull it down and watch what happens. As soon as it gets all the way to the left, before it breaks into two lines there, I'm going to leave it just like that. But of course, I want it in the middle. So we can go Module Alignment just down here. And we've got it in the middle. Now, if we take our background away, we put in there so you can see what's going on. It's only stretching for the width of that particular line. And you can add it to any heading you want on your site. Like I say, you can add it to any module. That's great, doing exactly what we want. Now, if we want it to work on a Dart one, we can create a Dart one very easy, a Dart version for it, by going into our regular code module here. I'm going to copy all this code. Remember, we want to stay within the style tag, so I'm going to copy all the code we've got here. If I just make this bigger, it'll be easier. From the closing bracket there to the actual class name, mline wt. Control-C to copy. I'm going to drop down after our last bracket here. I'm going to paste it all in there again. And I'm going to change this one from WT to DK for dark. DK for dark. And also, I don't need these keyframes again. We've got them above. It's using the same ones. So let's get rid of that. And I'm going to change this to our dark color there, which I think was 4747. You can always change this background color. I'm going to change this one to match our dark titles we're using. We've got everything we need there. Fantastic. We'll just save this now. If I go into our heading that we've got here, go down to CSS IDs and classes. We'll say mline DK. And we've got our little line appearing under our dark one there. As you can see, it's really easy to do. Now this one, don't forget, I've shrunk it down just to the size of our actual text here. And you want to check text size on tablet and mobile too. If we just hit the little paintbrush, you can go down there, heading text size. You can check it on tablet by hitting the little mobile phone icon here. Make sure it's going to do the thing that you want it to do. That's okay. We can shrink the text down so it's one line, but that actually works fine for me. To shrink it down just for one line on this particular device. Make sure you're on the tablet mode. Just start incrementing down till it becomes one line. That will go straight underneath there. Fantastic. On mobile, we've got it in two lines there. I think that's going to work fine for me. The line's going to come out there. Fantastic. Let's have a look at the one up above here. And this is going to do its thing underneath the width of our longest word there. Your success. Perfect. That's going to work nicely for me. Let's flip back to desktop. And of course, if you want to add this to any of your modules here, we can go into one of these modules. And let's give it a white underline underneath. It's not going to go under the title because this is all one module, but it will underline the whole module itself. So if we go into the advanced CSS IDs and classes, It was mline, M-L-I-N-E, W-T for white. There's that little white underline appearing on that one. And that's a quite cool effect. Like I say, it's going to get people's attention when something like that happens. And of course, we can just add it to this one next door if you want to, by doing exactly the same thing. Now, as I mentioned earlier, CSS IDs and classes, make sure you put it in the class. I've written this on the page in a code module. If you want to use this site-wide and just use these class names on any page, we'll write the code into the actual custom CSS panel itself. So let's save this. I'm going to go back into my little code module up here. In here. Now, code modules don't take up real estate. Sometimes you're going to have fun trying to find them. I can find mine fine at the moment, but if you have trouble getting to it, just go to backend mode or wireframe view, little icon, bottom left-hand side. Takes us to backend. There's our little code module right there. Really easy to get to things. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all this again without the style tags. Don't need these style tags if we're going to put it in our additional CSS panel. So I'm going to copy all this from the first dot to our last curly bracket right there. Control C to copy. If we go down to our dashboard now, we can either go down to Appearance and Customize, or we can go down to Divi and Theme Options. Right at the bottom of the General tab on Theme Options, you'll find an additional CSS panel or Custom CSS panel. The one in the Customizer is exactly the same place, so it doesn't matter. You can put the code in either or. I'm just going to paste that code in here. I've actually got a title already there. That's from some stuff I did before. Let's just use that title, and I'll paste that down in there. Once we've got it pasted in there, make sure you hit the Save Changes until we get a little check mark. Fantastic. Now we can go back here. We can actually delete this whole code module. Don't need it anymore as it's written into our custom CSS panel. So if I just save that, I can delete this whole row here. Let's flip back to desktop mode. Got this little row underneath here. I can delete the whole thing so we've not got that code module. Let's save the changes now and exit our visual builder. Here's our site. There's our little underline working again now that we've got it in the custom CSS panel, and remove that code from the page. And you can go to any page now, use those class names, and you're going to get this nice little underline effect under whatever you choose to put them in. We've got a dark one there, light one up here, and we've used the light one on these modules down here too. And as usual, I'll put all this code down below for anybody who wants to copy and paste it. I would recommend you do write it though, because it's really easy and it's a great way of learning CSS, and CSS is a fantastic thing to learn. It's going to take your editing skills way up to the next level. But it's there for anybody to copy and paste, change it however you wish, and use it for your projects. And don't forget, if you put it in here, make sure to save your changes. It won't work if you don't. So I hope you've enjoyed this today and found it useful. If you have, please give it a thumbs up, ring the bell, comment, share, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Don't forget, if you've got any questions, pop them down below the video. I'll do my best to answer them for you, or make a little demo video just like this one. So once again, this has been Jamie from System22 and webdesignandtechtips.com. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.